I mean, could you imagine even in your own life, no suffering? Suffering, and I use that term broadly, it means a lot of things. Fear, guilt, shame, of course. It means a lot of different things. Just hardship, struggle. Could you imagine if it's not in your life? And then can you imagine emerging and being amongst the first? I mean, really amongst the first on this planet that aren't suffering. So what happens to that suffering? Well, and I generalize here. It's not meant this way for everybody. I generalize, but it's going to try to put up its last hurrah, its last fight. It's going to insist that you have to hold on to some of it. So it's going to rise up, within you, within some experiences in your life. And the suffering is going to try to tell you, let's just call it the suffering aspect. It's going to try to tell you that you have to have it. You're not worthy to be without any suffering. And some of you are going to believe it. Aspects are really good at tricking you because, well, they are you. They know all your vulnerabilities, your weak spots, and everything else. So the suffering is going to try to hang on. And when it realizes that you're going to call its game, you're going to recognize that it's just an aspect. Then it's going to try to plead with you, beg with you. It's going to do the poor me. I'm just this little suffering aspect, and look, you're trying to throw me out. It's going to try to work on your sympathies and your emotions. It's going to try to make you feel guilty, and it really knows how to make you feel guilty. It sounds kind of weird. Why would you even want suffering? But it'll find a way to make you feel bad about it and yourself. And then what happens to it when that doesn't work? When you tell that aspect, you're just not going to go along with it. Then what happens to it? It's not going to go easy. It's not going to be like a gentle, fluffy little transformation. It'll be a big bang explosion when suffering is brought to wisdom. You'll feel it. It'll be a really good feeling. It might really jolt your body. It'll definitely jolt every other part of you, but it will be such a relief when all that suffering is finally brought to wisdom. And that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end. You'll remember what it was like to suffer, but it'll be a thing of the past, because that's where it belongs. And then just no more suffering. We draw that line. We tell the suffering no more. No entry into the future, into our tomorrows, into what comes next. So let the master within you now be ever present. Not deceived or not fooled by this aspect of suffering. Master doesn't need to say a word or to do a thing. It's just to be present. And then to feel what begins to happen to this suffering aspect. A lot of times in the past, you might have started engaging in some mental activity, thinking you had to engage this suffering aspect talk to it or yell at it or do something. I want you to feel what it's like to just be present. Even if that aspect is trying to taunt you or fight you, just feel what it's like just to be in presence. That suffering aspect has a big bag of tricks. Lack of money, lack of abundance, constant tormenting, belittling, pretending that it doesn't know the answers. It's also body aches, diseases, imbalances, all that is kind of packaged up in this suffering aspect. It just doesn't belong on this planet anymore. It doesn't. I'm tired of it. And I know you're tired of it. Why people take it for granted, why people just think it's part of life, I don't know. It's not. Life should be joyful and abundant. The suffering aspect, it's been lingering around for a while. You've cleared so many other things, but there are still these remnants. Well, it's just time to keep that in the past. There's no place in your future for that suffering, period. Take a good deep breath now and let that master and the wisdom of the master be totally present. Totally present. Right with this aspect of suffering. This aspect could be screaming and kicking or complaining or whatever, but the master just holds its own, holds its wisdom, holds its light, until this aspect realizes the game's over. The game is over. Something, maybe in the next few days, few weeks, whatever, something just pops. When that aspect is finally brought to wisdom.